Hello and welcome once again to the Thrifty Collector. Today we have a few through the mail returns. We're going to start catching up on these. I got a huge stack, but I don't want to do them all at once, so I'm going to do a little bit here and there. So we're going to start off with a 1968 Larry Brown of the Cleveland Indians. I did send him 2 cards and he went ahead and signed for me. That's the first one. That's the second one of old Larry there. I also sent him a 1970 Topps right there. It's actually a good card. It looks like it was probably done in spring training from what my guess is. And I always love those early cards. It's probably a low numbered card, 391, but it was probably done in spring training. You kind of see all the trees in the background. And back then, a lot of those teams just went to some town here in Florida and went ahead and set up shop. So probably a good deal for a lot of guys to come down to Florida for spring training. The next one is one of my favorite cards. It's the 1969 Seattle Pilots. The team with the 1-year history later became the Milwaukee Brewers in 1970. It was kind of a late thing. They were actually in spring training in 1970 as the Pilots. Team got sold. They moved everybody to Milwaukee. And from just a correspondence with a few of these players that I've been talking to over the years, a lot of them didn't even know. They just were like, okay, now you're going to Milwaukee. And they showed up to Milwaukee and they said, okay, here are your uniforms. You're now the Brewers. So kind of interesting about that. Also have sticking with the 1969 Topps. This is an American hero, Rick Monday. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Rick Monday, back in the early 70s, a bunch of hippies were going to light the American flag on fire. And they actually had some lighter fluid. And they put the lighter fluid on the flag itself, and Rick Monday went up and snatched it away from a bunch of filthy hippies and saved the flag. You can actually read a lot about that on the internet. It's a real interesting story about Rick. So that's his 1969 card. I also have his 1973 card when he was with the Cubs, and I believe he was actually with the Cubs at the All-Star game when this happened. And also have his 1978 with the Dodgers. I do remember this card as a kid, and I always thought it was kind of he was making an odd facial expression with that, and so I always kind of liked this card. The 78 set is one of my favorite sets. You got the 69, the 76, because 76 was the first cards that I bought. When they came out, I was probably still 6 years old, and I remember walking probably about 8 blocks to the local newsstand shop that had cards and picked up those. Next one I have is a 1977. We're going to switch over here to basketball. Alvin Adams, who Adams actually had some pretty decent years. He was out of Oklahoma. He was the Suns' #1 draft pick, 6'9". But averaged up until 1981, he was averaging about 16.7 points a game, and had, of course, a lot of rebounds, being 6'9". So, and then here's his 81 card, or is that 82? I think that's 82. 81. That's his 81-82 card. And I also sent him a 1979 card. So, guy had a pretty good career. Not a Hall of Fame career, but did some pretty good years. And then the last card I have is Sven Nader, and that is with the San Diego Clippers. Now, if you're a little bit younger, you think, well, isn't it the Los Angeles Clippers? They were actually in San Diego first, and then went to L.A., and haven't done much since they've been there. Had a couple of good years. I want to say it was in the early 2000s, but they've never really put together a great team or even really had a great player back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, unless somebody can tell me that different on that with the Clippers. I think they're just one of them NBA teams that's just been around and usually happy if they finish well enough to get into the first round of the playoffs. So thank you for letting me share. Going to be trying to do one of these a day now because I do have a big stack that I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And now that I've got time to kill here at work, why not, right? So as everybody, have a great one. If you're wondering, me being in Florida, if we were impacted by the hurricane, not at all. It has actually been beautiful here. High 70s, 80s, not much humidity for a change. We're finally getting in the fall, and we've had 0 rain this week. So as always, stay thrifty. Take care.